Coast taste again. Want great coffee? Get serious.
You're watching Vancouver Island Report. Good evening, I'm Hudson Mack. Thank you for being here. We begin this half hour in the tiny West Coast community of Ahousaht, facing a health epidemic. Elders and young children are being forced from the community because their homes are infested with black mold. As 8 Channel's David Wuchar reports, the Ahousaht First Nation is frustrated that the federal government has not stepped up to help.
Ahousaht is a tight-knit First Nations community on Vargas Island north of Tofino, but the fabric of the village is in tatters as many community members are being forced out from the effects of black mold.
Living with mold is terrible. You get labored breathing, and you get fevers. No matter how much you go to the doctor, they give you medication for it, it still doesn't make it go away.
I couldn't get up out of bed. My husband had to literally push my head up for me to get out of bed. But I figured, I didn't know what it was. I'm thinking maybe it was the mold.
The only way into Ahousaht is by air or water, and everything from groceries to construction materials has to be shipped in. The cost to renovate a moldy home is upwards of $160,000, but a new home costs less than half that to build. The village has room to grow, but a lack of infrastructure funds puts council in a catch-22.
As a First Nation, we have to jump through so many hoops. We don't even have a chance and hope in hell to get out of this rut that we're in because our hands are tied every which way. And this is why we're at today.
At this point, INAC is offering $29,000 as a subsidy per unit. I've been into a number of the homes in the community, and it just breaks my heart to see what they're living in and to know that, you know, I can't do anything about it.
50 years ago, the federal government shipped these houses into Ahousaht. Stacks of prefabricated walls were brought in, put up, and nailed together. But their airtight design is completely wrong for a rainforest climate, and trapped moisture quickly becomes black mold.
Probably 90% of our homes are condemned that we live in today in our community because I've worked on many of our homes here twice now. Our homes are all built wrong, basically, because they were sent to us in the walls. And all we did was put them together, and we're still living in them 70 years later. So that speaks for itself.
The health effects are devastating. Unable to enjoy the clean coastal air, children and elders are racked with respiratory illnesses.
I can't tell you how huge an issue it is. There's so many children with bad skin problems, asthma, the slightest cold, and they're in respiratory distress, having to come down emergently to hospital to be treated.
Our young people are suffering through health problems. Our elders are suffering, and it's becoming a large crisis for Ahousaht, these unhealthy homes.
Indian and Northern Affairs Canada did not return our calls. Ahousaht leaders say they've lost faith in government promises, and mold-infested homes need to become a priority before their ancient village becomes a ghost town. In Ahousaht, David Wuchar, 8 Channel News.
8 Channel News has learned that workers at the Catalyst Papers Elk Falls mill in Camp